All right, we are gearing up for our final game of the day, XL versus Granit Gaming. And like I said, this is going to be a bit of a test for Granit's lineup. They came in and I think surprised a lot of people, although, by their own estimations, they did exactly what they intended to do. They, I think to quote Sahira verbatim, "We ain't here to spectate," and they certainly didn't. They kind of crushed their first game with some really interesting picks like the Rise mid for Sahira. But we have now a big test for them, potentially the biggest test in their group, which is going to be the BTXL roster, who, by Foxdrop's estimations, and I think by a lot of the estimations from our analysts, didn't quite live up to the mark from their first game.
No, and I kind of want to take it back to what you said in the beginning there. Like, Sahira coming in that interview and was like, we're not here just for the experience. We're not here to spectate. We're here to contest these teams. And I think that works when you play against Godsend. But now you're against the toughest opponent arguably in the league. And if you want to really prove yourself, then this is your chance to do it. But, it takes more than just spirit to beat XL. Like, yeah, they were underwhelming, but you cannot underestimate them. I agree that Granit cannot be underestimated either. But at the same time, like, this is a whole different game than you just played yesterday.
So I think there's like two perspectives, right? If you take it from the perspective of Granit, yes, I'll agree. They looked fantastic against Godsend. There was a lot of individual talent. There was a lot of solo kills, which they don't necessarily happen against the more high-tier teams in the tournament. But if you look over on the other side and you glance over to XL, where you're like, ooh, oozing of individual talent and gameplay. They've got their XLEC star moving in, the likes of a Rome, but that was it. It was a Rome start to finish in the previous game, playing the Renekton, getting the gold drinker, having the backpack, carrying them all the way towards from the top lane. And it feels like Granit had a fantastic game, great solo performances from each individual player. We didn't necessarily get to see the macro for that matter because they were just so far ahead in everything, right? And on the other hand, you saw an XL where they started losing and then they defaulted to that macro, playing towards the Renekton, knowing their win conditions and finishing the game. So I just want to see the clash between the two.
I'm excited to see how we can start shaping expectations of both these teams after this game, because I feel like in their first game yesterday, both of these teams were probably, I don't think that Granit were favorites going in against Godsend, and I think we expected more out of BTXL as well. And I have a lot of questions about both these teams still, and I think this game hopefully will go some ways into answering that, because is BTXL, are they going to be a powerhouse in this league? Because they should be when you look at their roster, but it was not a convincing game yesterday. And Granit, is this a dark horse? Because we've already seen Fnatic fall yesterday as well. And I think Fnatic is arguably even more talented than BTXL on paper. So I think there's a lot of potential here. If you're going to get an upset, like Granit can definitely do it. And it's like, is Granit one of those teams that can bring it home? Are they going to be challenging the top teams? And is BTXL going to be able to keep on that legacy they've always had in the NLC and in the UK leagues, where they are one of the best teams that we see?
First off, I stand BTXL in the rankings. I actually think that they are the one that overall is going to come out on top. But that's a whole other conversation for another day, Foxy. To me, I want to see in this matchup specifically, because yesterday, a lot of the leads that Granit Gaming got was through laning phase. It was like, oh, solo killing the top side. What's that? This Rise in the mid lane suddenly just killed the Orianna. What's going on here? But the problem is, you won't get the leisure of being allowed to solo kill here. I genuinely don't expect that against BTXL. So what we need to see coming out from Granit Gaming is now, all right, we knew how to play with a lead. How do we play when we go even into the mid game? How is the objective setup going to benefit us? What benefits are we going to get out from the draft in terms of what do we play around? Because it was very individual yesterday. It was very, all lanes got a lead. Let's just end this bad boy. Like, we're all just ahead. Nothing's going to stop us. And at the same time on BTXL, they also just had a lead. And then it just kind of stopped because they didn't have a lead that was late enough into the game to translate into Baron. So the opponents just kind of got ahead. So in between these two teams, we need to see a better laning phase. We need a better in-game plan. And I think the one who can actually execute onto that will take the game today.
Hold up. Yesterday, you were a bunch of non-believers. You're like, Granit? What? Who are these kids? I don't know them. Max, can we please bring the predictions up? Because yesterday, I believe I was the only one going with Granit. What's that? The two Dans? that you then suddenly believe the double D of this tournament actually believes?
Yo,
Okay, guys.
okay, this is.
Listen.
I made my prediction yesterday before I realized he carried me in solo queue. Okay, I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Listen.
If I'd known that was him, whole different story.
Wait, you you changed your statement as well. You said he didn't carry you. Now you
Well,
said
I
he
mean,
did carry
yeah,
you.
that's
Okay.
it. Exactly. My memory is awful. I didn't know it was him. I didn't know
Right?
we'd won.
You definitely didn't change your statement there.
Yeah, I just
Look, Foxy, I know you like to ego.
Listen,
people,
are you here
but,
to
you
create
like to ego
enemies
people.
or friends?
I love him, man. I mean, I take it all back. I take it all back.
We're just waiting. We've got a small delay, obviously, as we get towards this game. I will update you as soon as we have any more information about where we'll be going. But again, let's take a bit more of a look at the kind of maybe the individual lanes here. Obviously, Hatrix versus Sahira is going to be an interesting one. Hatrix, who came into XL in the previous NLC split, he was filling very big shoes. I think Special was a huge carry role for XL. In that particular roster of the XL before Hatrix came in, and then Hatrix came in as more of a facilitator. We haven't really seen Hatrix step up and be the solo carry that we so often saw Special be. But then we have, Deadly, I suppose. Deadly came in and had a similar role to fill in that sense. What do we make of this matchup, Sahira versus Hatrix? How do you see this one going?
So I still think it will go in the favor of Hatrix, just in terms of experience and the kind of champ pool we're going for here. But it's mainly just because that, and Sahira said this in the interview as well, he understood why a lot of people didn't vote them. They were essentially 4 rookies. You go onto Leaguepedia, you see nothing on this. You don't see what they usually play in tournaments. You literally only have access to their solo queue accounts, and that doesn't say a lot. So that's why, as an analyst, for me personally, it's like I can see the track record here. I can see the experience coming in. But with that said, Hatrix looked extremely shaky yesterday. It looked like he had some jitters or something like that, where in the early laning phase where he died 2 times to a gank that was kind of predictable, where I feel like normally Hatrix wouldn't make these kind of mistakes. So if there are times where you want to capitalize on it, it is kind of today where Excel are still in their early phase. You saw it as well with Makoon just diving in under the tower as a Talia, not jumping off the wall where you can kill a target. No, jumped off the wall where the tower was, so he was forced to flash out and just ended up in a bad situation. And if you're ready to punish jitters like that, obviously you're going to get a lead.
I'm really curious to see how that works in the draft as well, because you're talking about how these are 4 rookies that it's really hard to scout them and you don't really know what champions they're playing. Rise was picked in the last game, and that is a Sahira special, and they put a lot of priority on that as well. It was one of the first rotations. I think it may have been like the second pick they took in the entire draft. Now, that is something that you can exploit. Picking Rise that early and blind is not the go-to thing. And even if you want to ban the Rise away too, like there's a lot of question marks as to whether or not Sahira can pull something else out. I mean, I'm sure he's not just a Rise one trick, but to what effectiveness?
You tell us, Foxdrop. You've played with him. You tell us.
Yeah, he played Rise. So I'm like, I don't really know what else he can play, to be honest with you. So I think that's what a lot of it comes down to as well, like the kind of comfort you can get, how comfort clashes with meta, and whether I would imagine BTXL as a whole have a wider champion pool. So that might come back to bite Granit in the bum.
I'm kind of interested to see Deadly in action again as well. I feel like it was a little underwhelming on the Samira this time. We saw him yesterday, and I think
all of BTXL was underwhelming. Let's be real.
Yeah,
Like all of them.
I completely get it, but I really feel like Deadly is one of those carries that you just expect to pop off because he's kind of has that kind of reputation about him. But yeah, I'd like to see more from Deadly. Maybe Kaiser, for instance, where he maybe has a bit more of that agency. I don't know, but I'm excited to see this game nonetheless. All right, Goodbog, you've got something to say, mate. Go.
Of course I do. Like we can sit here 1 hour and I will have something to talk about here. So what I would essentially love from BTXL is that they finally make use of their jungle support synergy here. I feel like that is not something we see often enough on an ERL level. It's often like, oh, we're just a 2v2 bot lane here, we need to get ahead. But with champions like Galio, with champions like Maokai, with champions like Leona, Maokai perfect for setting up jungle camps, or not camps, but set up before objectives. You do that with a jungler, you're going to be set for the next objective. Leona, Galio, perfect follow if you want to go in and get some vision. If you're 2v1 against against the enemy jungler just in there, that's perfect. I want to see that coming out from BTXL because they are a team with resources from a coaching staff, with experience from a roaming in the top side, with Hatrix who's played for so long that you should be able to execute on a higher level. And I think that's why a lot of people said that BTXL was underwhelming, because we did not see too much of a higher level play. It felt like, oh, we were individually good, so we were able to hold on in team fights, play around a roaming, and after that we could macro it out. But I want to see that from the get-go. I want to see you take a lead through your individual skill in the laning phase, translate that into perfect macro, micro, whatever you want to call it, and set up the objectives and just close out the game in a perfect fashion that we know that they can do, because we've seen these players do it before.
So are you telling me that you want to see XL?
I want to see dominance. I want to see
you want to
BTXL.
see, yeah, exactly. You want to see win lane, win games.
You'll see dominance, all right. You'll see win lane, will game, all right. You'll see that. I don't know which team from, but you'll see that.
Well, you predicted Granit, so I'm sure you're saying that Granit is going to absolutely demolish BTXL right now.
Listen, mate, I'm sold on Sahira, all right? I'm sold. He came in with determination. He was like, listen, mate, we're not here to just look. We're here to compete. We're here to win. I'm sold.
Yeah, but even in competition, you get losers.
I mean, there is some fighting talk. Do you know what? I'm loving this. I should get some Granit boxing gloves for Trouble, get some BTXL boxing gloves for Gulborg, just stick him in the ring. And
Fox is just waiting right there for Sahira to drop into his next solo queue game and carry him again. It's all good.
Absolutely. My LP is taking a suffering. Sahira, mate, if you're listening to this, I need some help. Let's go.
Man, you're egoing him. You're not even joining up with him. Oh, it looks like we got pick and ban ready as well.
Oh, I don't have to fill any longer. We're into pick and ban. Let's go, everybody. Here we go. Ban's coming through. Yeah, we got Talia. We got Rise. There we go. They're targeting Sahira.
Wait a second.
Straight off the bat.
All right.
All right. I'm going to give you a special chance, Granit believers. Are you switching your predictions now that Rise?
No. I have faith still. I have faith. It was all a bait. He wanted us to think he's a Rise 1 trick from yesterday's game, so that you draw a free ban, bam, sorted. 5,000 IQ, that's what that's all about.
So let's take it back to what you said, Foxy, because we essentially don't have too much information on these players. So what do you do in draft when you ban him? That was like the Rise, and then they're like, wait, what do we do now? Just ban meta, I suppose, the way with Olaf and stuff like that. And at the same time from Granit Gaming, Makoon yesterday played the Talia, Deadly yesterday played the Samira. So it looks like you're just looking, oh, they had that track record of the game yesterday. Let's just get rid of those champions.
Yeah, so far we're seeing, as you say, bans coming through from familiar faces, and also balancing out a little bit of the meta there as well. Okay, we are going to get a ban in there. I thought we were going to skip for a second. So that's three of the junglers gone down. One of the things you can always count on in draft in season 11 so far is a lot of emphasis on junglers. So we're seeing 3 jungle bans go through right now. And this often either leads to a first pick jungler if one gets left open, maybe like the Graves or something like that. But also we've seen a lot of ADC first picks too. Depending on who's open, we've seen a lot of Kai'Sa go with the first pick. So we'll see where the team decides to go with that.
Well, let's have a look for the first pick for Granit, and it looks like it is going to be the Kai'Sa. This has been a fairly popular early rotation pick for teams, and it's going to look locked in straight away for Granit Gaming.
So the thing here is, there we go. The thing here is Granit is banning 2 of the most popular AP junglers. They're trying to do one of the 2 things, right? They're trying to force Makoon either onto an AD jungler that's not necessarily going to synergize too well with all these AD bruises that a Roman likes to pick, or force him onto a Lilia and try to counterpick him and fight him on that. You'll see that the Pantheon did stay open. It's the first time we'll see it in play. It's absolutely insanely overpowered in the early game, so Makoon is going to have a walk in the pack. And I just want to see this guy, start from the beginning and just go all the way till the end, because yesterday we saw him really great, explosive early game, and then it kind of fell off. And this is what I was alluding to, right? They're trying to force him off onto the AD jungler so they can fight him onto the Hecarim. I like the reply right here from Granit.
Yes, there it was. I'm about to scream for it. I've been waiting 200 years for this. Aphelios, finally, when you get it into the Kai'Sa. So traditionally, you go with the Thresh as well for this, and you just abuse the short range that Kai'Sa has in laning phase. If you pick up on like the games of LPL, even Cloud9 started doing this as well. As soon as the priority for Kai'Sa became a thing, you would just go for lanes that would win the 2v2, and you would dumpster the champion. I'm hoping that we're playing heavy for bot side here it with the Pantheon. I obviously love the Galio, but Aphelios into Kai'Sa statistically and win rate on the win ratio is just so good for Aphelios because he loves when people walk into him. Kai'Sa loves walking into you, so you're just like, come at me, babe. Let's see what happens. And can't wait for that to happen.
I really hope Aphelios doesn't say that to Kai'Sa because that's a little inappropriate, but yeah.
Come at me, babe. Let's go.
I'm just gonna pretend he said mate. That's what I heard, right? Mate. Yeah, that's what he said.
That's definitely what I heard. Renekton banned away here. Romy not going to get his hands on that. Well, the rest, a couple of blind picks left available. I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe a Syndra locked in for hat tricks. It's something that he plays well. The Gnar, if he gets locked in, is something that is, we could say, split opinion a little bit across the analyst world, but it is going to be the pick that is taken.
So I really do enjoy the Gnar, but what I'm seeing here from Granit is like completely the opposite of what we're expecting. We're expecting BTXL to go more towards a teamfight oriented composition, and we're expecting Granit to stick to their, oh yeah, let's butt heads in our solo lanes and translate a laning phase into a winning game. And now it's sort of gone 180, whereas BTXL they've got the Pantheon, they've got the Thresh, Aphelios, they want to play punches in the lane, they've got the Gnar that's really great versus a melee if that's what Tamas chooses to play in the top lane. And on the other side, Granit are picking wombo combos to just go in and hard fight with them. And I do like it because if BTXL fumble with this composition, if they make a slight mistake, it's not an easy composition to come back from because they don't necessarily have any heavy engage to rely on.
Yeah, this whole team comp from Granit just screams dogpiling. Dogpiling. Because you've got Kai'Sa, you've got Hecarim, you've got Galio. They're all just going to be jumping straight into you. And the Victor, to me, especially considering it's blind here, I think that's more like a comfort thing, honestly, for Sahira here. And I do think there's a lot of value coming out of comfort as well. But yeah, this is a team that goes forward, and it goes forward a lot. On the other hand, doesn't have a lot of tools to go the other way if they get forced into a position to do that. So Orianna going to be the last pick here, rounding out the comp for BTXL. Orianna versus Victor mid lane, probably one of the less action-packed mids we'll see.
We will see, but honestly, as you said yourself, Granit Gaming composition just really wants to run at you, and I love the way that it synergizes. You get the Hecarim ultimate where you're unstoppable. You put a Galio ult on top of that. You have the backline damage. You get the Kai'Sa that can jump in as well. All of this is just one identity, and that is so key in a draft because you're not in doubt of what kind of game plan we're having here. Get ahead, start the team fight, set up the objectives, everything you want there. At the same time, BTXL, you got Aphelios where you really want people to come at you. But the problem is here that you also have the Pantheon, and that is a guy that wants to jump in as well. So for XL, yeah, you can play both kind of compositions if you get ahead, but the problem is if you fall behind in the early game, a lot of your team composition is around the pick potential with the Thresh. It is about jumping in with the Pantheon. It is the Gnar, and you can get completely rolled over if you lose the ball. So for XL, it's just going even into it, and then you can play around the strengths around the mid or the objectives in the mid game, sorry.
Well, hopefully Hatrix is on his game today and BTXL don't lose the ball. But I'm also really curious to see how teams play around bot side, because as Trouble said, Pantheon in this game, ridiculously strong early game champion, has some decent gank setup as well. And as Google very eloquently put it, maybe if Aphelios can invite Kai'Sa around some hyper at some point as well, maybe, who knows. But with that going down, I think it's one of those things where there's a lot of action potential to be had on the bot side of the map. And we've seen a lot of teams play more towards solo lanes traditionally on this patch, so I'm curious to see how this one plays out.
It's just such a hard composition to execute. Like, I'm looking at it again, and it's just so hard to execute because you're relying on the hook. You're relying on Pantheon catching someone off guard. And with the composition that Granit have, you're not just going to catch one person off guard. You're going to see 5 people running at you all together. It's not like somebody's going to be away from someone else because they're all jumping in at the same time, right? Kai'Sa jumps the backline, Galio joins, Hecarim joins, Aatrox joins. Victor's like, la la la, throwing, his little gravity field in the front. You can't reach him anyway, so he doesn't care. It just all relies on individual talent from BTXL to try and having to make that early game work.
This is exactly what Gilborg wanted, right? I mean, this is the test.
Yeah.
He basically said,
they're doing it for you.
The individual. Yeah, I also predicted BTXL, but you basically said, I want to see BTXL win lane, win game. I want the individual talent, the players that are supposed to be best in caliber, win out and win the game that way. So this is a composition that maybe that needs to happen. I think there's probably quite a bit of, I guess, proactivity going to come from Markun. Like, he's playing at Pantheon, right? So he's going to be potentially influencing this, just getting in the lanes as much as possible, ganking as much as possible. So, I'm expecting to see that. But Gulbog, what do you make of that? Is that something that you're expecting to see from this XL comp? Is that something that you need to see from them?
So first off, I'm kind of hurt that I had to do a 1-minute monologue of my analysis of how I wanted XL to get out, and you just boiled it down to win lane, win game. And then, but I guess the job ain't that hard. Maybe I just do that next time.
Well, I mean, Foxy
Foxy
did say 3 British guys on a team win the game when they won the games,
and they did.
I mean,
so,
clearly, you can use less words.
How many Brits do you count in this match?
Well, see, this is the thing, right? This is where it gets a bit tough. This is why I'm staying quiet, because I don't really have anything to say if there's no Brits in the game. So
there's Deadly.
It's true. There's Deadly. There's one.
Yeah, Deadly's Brit.
I've predicted.
All right, there you go. You got one for
But you actually went against your own prediction.
I did go against your own.
Yeah. So what are you doing here with your friend? You're kind of just going against yourself, man.
That's just for the spice, mate. That's where it's at.
Screw the word. I'm
by the
just
way,
here for the spice.
We had to remake draft, by the way, guys. So we should be into game relatively shortly. Looks like we are, pretty much there. Cool. So we have our teams locked in again. Most of our guys. Gulbog, look, guys, I'm going to do Gulbog justice here. I'm going to do him justice. If you want to really hear the ins and outs of this XL composition, if you really want to hear the absolute details, like honestly, just eloquently put at the utmost level, like honestly, I've never heard caliber of analysis before in my life. Just go back in the VOD a couple of minutes and you'll find it, because he talked for about a year. Right, so we have these dudes. He's looking at me like oh no, I'm so sorry. Right, we're going to hand it over quickly before Gulbog kills me with his eyes. Hip Rain and Orcs, the last game of the day. Let's go.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the caster desk. Getting ready to go into game number 4. I like the dogpile analysis on the Granit comp there, Orcs. Kind of looking what they got to do, and obviously high-level analysis from Gulbog as always. Win lane, win game for XL. What is your high-level analysis on the XL comp versus Granit right now?
Win lane, win game.
All right, cool, good stuff.
I mean, being completely honest, I think this is the sort of composition we often seen by teams. Often the stronger team, more proactive, more able to execute early game plans. This is a great composition for BTXL to do that. And I feel like all 3 lanes, like bot lane's a good matchup, mid lane you should have pressure early, top lane I'm confident that Romy will have pressure in this matchup, and then you have a Pantheon to play around that. This should be a steamroll for BTXL. If it isn't, that actually leaves potential for Granit to come back into this one, because their composition does well in the late stages of the game and their team fighting's solid. By all means, XL should roll this. And there's big problems if they don't, because our expectations are sky high already for this team.
Yeah, they really are. And I mean, after yesterday, I've definitely moved Granit up in my tier list of my expectation of where they're going to kind of, how they're going to do. A win here for them is just like, okay, Granit are winning worlds at that point.
Yeah.
We are ready to get into this game. I know there's been a very long delay. We did have a couple of issues before we got into game. I'm sure if you looked at Twitter, apparently EU West is on fire, experiencing similar problems over here. But we have managed to sort that out. Then we had a client crash. But we are finally into game for our 4th and final game of the day. Granit on the blue side, XL on the red. Does dogpile beat individual talent? That's the question.
Interesting little insight, and I actually really like what G2 has done with their academy. For anyone who's not clued up on the Spanish scene, they kind of, because originally, like back in the day, G2's academy squad had like a pretty stacked roster, a lot of no names, and they kind of just went away with that, and they went for like a full Spanish roster, and they've kind of invested heavily in the domestic talent, which is pretty cool to see. I say as XL do have their 1 UK player, so it's something. Yeah, Markun definitely a solid pickup from that. Didn't have the greatest game yesterday, but still, win is a win. Ooh. And they're now looking for an invade. Pantheon pretty good at these level 1 invades. If I had to rank him,
good at them.
Yeah, pretty good out of 10 is what I'm.
Others being there, they don't see them with the Victor. This is devastating. Toggle back to vision because I thought the Kaiser was down there. No?
I like how
Is
Granit
this
are
happening?
oblivious, but they've avoided it. They've actually managed to avoid the problem. This is like
Wait,
in a
this is
horror
amazing.
film. This is like in a horror film where there's a monster behind the door and the person just walks past and like they're completely fine as a
Marky.
result.
Actually,
There's the
so
monster.
much damage onto Galban. Forced him to ghost already. A little bit more damage. Doesn't quite have the spear. Goes for the flash. The red buff burn and Marky finds the kill. Tragedy for Galban.
Yeah, he walked into the closet and the monster was there and it took him out. Obviously no flash in the Hecarim, no. Oh no.
This is bad. The slow's there though from the gravity field, and Sahara's able to get away. I've been taking a little bit of poke from Dr. Chaos down
That's
here.
just one of those moments where Sahara knows he's not dying. Marcoon knows he's not dying. Hatrix knows he's not dying. All he does is he just messes up your lane. Like, you've got the wave in the position you want, you trade and you're like, cool, I've got this much health, and then this Pantheon just walks in, just messes it up. But either way, really rough start for Galban here. Loses out on that red buff, ends up going down. Losing Ghost, not really that big of an issue. It's a short cooldown than Flash anyway, but not the start you want. And often, when we saw a lot of Hecarim last split, he suffered when he was set behind early. And I think this is a game where we could see BTXL looking to set them behind early.
Getting pretty heavily shoved in here at the moment in this bot side. Taunt's actually going to connect onto Deadly, but he had the red gun there, so actually gets a fair amount of sustain off us. Great hook by Advian, and Dr. Chaos already taking a fair chunk of damage, but is traded back onto Deadly as well. Half health, has got red gun, so we'll be able to lifesteal back up slowly.
I like how you spend hours trying to learn all the Ornn upgrade names, but you just give up
I
the
can't
color of red
remember.
gun.
Honestly, how
Severum.
many games did we do last year of this champion? And I still can't remember the names. I know
Severum.
Gravitum, Infernum, Calibrum.
Severum and Crescendum. Crescendum's the white one, Severum's the red one. That easy, Jake.
To be fair, when I started that list, I didn't think I was going to get to it free of
You got one job, Jake. Your job is to know the names of stuff, right? And shout. That's your multifaceted role.
Can't do my job right.
I would say it's also to tell bad jokes, but that's not really your job. That's just kind of incidental.
Yeah, well, you know, we've all got to have our own thing. Shut up,
Of this-
Observer. Dr.
Adrian?
Chaos might find out a fresh here. Adrian is able to get away, though.
Did you see the reset coming in? Deadly going to walk back to lane with double long swords, and as much as Granit will be able to get that reset off here, I think Adrian's going to try and freeze the wave and put it in a pretty uncomfortable position. They're going to force him up, but like you can actually just walk up here. There's no fear.
Oh, the bait with the lantern, but actually it's not a bait. Here comes Deadly. Gravitum's going to lock him down into the hook. Advian's ignited, though, and don't quite have enough damage to make it stick. Wave not frozen, however. Rome able to do a somersault to safety from the Galban gank.
I mean, the
Now
problem
Deadly
here
will
is like
him.
Granit haven't got their reset yet, and Deadly has. So Adrian's fine sacrificing his HP. It's an even trade in summoners, but now Deadly's back in lane. He's going to be able to push this wave in, and this is a very late reset from Granit. So a little bit touch and go there, but I think XL are overall fine with that one.
I want to keep my eyes on Marcoon. He had a great start. He actually didn't get a free buff start, though. Galban did go take the red earlier, so just a 2-buff trade-off, and they split the map in half. Galban was able to do something topside, though, forcing a Rome to flash and jump to safety after chunking him. Marcoon on a ward save will be spotted doing the chicken camp, although Deadly and Advian are also there to make sure that this is a pretty easy secure. It looks like the attention now is shifting towards this dragon, although Markin just used his smite.
Don't think there's necessarily a need to go for it right now. Although securing early dragon's obviously a massive benefit when you're looking to have strength in the early game. So it could end up going for now. They have good vision control in the area. They would be relatively safe, but I think he just wants that early pressure. He wants to keep the ball rolling, more focused on gold than dragons.
Well, 6 minutes on the clock. You can see Markin's trying to see something here. I think he's just helping Hatrix shove the wave in. Hatrix takes a stun and Goes for a shockwave, goes for a combo. The shield's big, but it's not big enough, and Galben will run the robot over. Hatrix flashes, Hatrix dies. Bit of a waste on the flash there.
Yeah, that was
the vibes.
That was a bit rough. I mean, Hatrix was so low in HP. The only reason he was still there was because Marcoon was supporting him, but then he left, and nice picker for Galben. Galben hits level 6 before Marcoon, which, considering the bad start, is kind of crazy. This is what I was talking about. Those mistakes can really be costly for BTXL's composition. It's nothing major yet, but repeat that a few times and Granit could become a serious threat.
Romeo taking a pretty good trade there against Thomas. That is actually
The boulder does so much damage. Since
he didn't even actually connect him into the wall with the R, by the way.
I mean,
that's the crazy
honestly,
thing about that.
The thing is, they reduced the cooldown of Nar's ult so much. And because obviously you're not Mega all the time, whenever you're Mega, you should always just ult to trade in lane. It's like just a standard thing to do, because chances are by the time you get Mega again, it'll be pretty close to being up. But like, he just does so much damage in Mega. It's like really frustrating to deal with.
It's going to get worse now. He's got that buff from the Infernal Drake as well.
A little bit of extra AD, can't complain. But even though it's like level 1 ranked ult, it's already like halfway off cooldown.
Yeah, it is actually crazy.
I mean, honestly, all things considered, the fact that Ori's expected to have more pressure early, the fact that bot lane is a good matchup, the Aphelios and the Kai'Sa, and on top of that, the fact that, you know, we have a Rome in the top lane on Gnar, this is going really well for Granit. They're doing fine.
Yeah, Rome's actually going for the fight here. Grand Starfall's used. The Infernal Chain's not going to lock a Rome down as he's about to Gnar out and slam Tomaz into the wall. Can he get him before he gets on the blast cone? No, he cannot. Tomaz is just baiting and waiting this out. Slowly but surely making a grand escape as Rome looking for the Gnar. There's the wallop, there's the slam, and here is the spear from Marcoon to secure that kill.
Good move there to wait for the spear. Obviously means the gold goes to Marcoon, but critically they get that assist gold as well. Tamaz, you were just dead there. There's no way you're getting out. Didn't bring any summoners, wasted a lot of time, so did what he could, but that's the power of the Pantheon. You're playing it well, it should just be an ult as a kill. Just needs someone to be overextended, and as much as it hasn't been a massive stomp from XL so far, they've secured that first dragon, looking to secure this first herald as well.
Looks like there's not really going to be any contest here. Rome's already in the area. Half cooldown on his R. Won't actually have it for this Mega when he transforms, but he's okay with that. Deadly's going to catch this wave as the taunt comes down, but Deadly actually loses a lot of health, and Admin missing the hook. It's pretty big. Great Flay, though, to stop that Justice Punch.
I think what's insane to me is the fact that after Shock and Galio's taunt, like the double damage reduction, you see Deadly like with his Severum out, just like auto attacking so much, and it does no damage.
Do take stock of where we are item wise. We've got the whip on Mark, and he's had that for quite a while, so building towards his Gore Drinker. The Noon Quiver onto Deadly right now, working towards what you would assume to be a Gale Force, and it's the serrated pickup for Michigu. So more of that build we've seen where you get a Gale Force or Kraken Slayer, but you get the Q upgrade and look for the Collector second.
I mean, honestly, so far, this is just good for Granit. Like, I feel like oftentimes when playing against the Academy teams, a lot of the weaker end teams tend to struggle, and it tends to not even be about the game plan, the macro. It's just we stomp them in lane. Like, you could imagine a scenario here where, like, BTXL is 7-0 in the early game, just crushing their opponents. Don't really need to think too hard about it. It's just outskilling them pound for pound. But Granit are holding up fine. And considering the composition BTXL have, it's not like they should be rolling over with them. It's not like a super hyper aggro. But BTXL have a comp that could facilitate that, and Granit are doing fine. So props them already. Definitely proving after the game yesterday and so far today that they are not a pushover team.
It also kind of proves that it wasn't a fluke yesterday. They are a team to be taken seriously, and they have more in their tank than, you know, the Sahira's Rise just melting anyone who goes near. Now, the Rift Herald in the pocket of Marcoon at the moment, so I'm curious to see where he puts that down. I'm going to try and get a Rome going, or maybe get some plates in the bot side. It could just be used to contest this dragon spawning up in a minute. So we may see it go down in the mid lane.
Divine Sundra coming out from the Hecarim, which is a bit of an interesting one. Tend to see a lot of Triforce, but ultimately not necessarily super great on him in terms of like the attack speed. Makes him a bulkier. You still get a lot of burst damage on that empowered auto.
Yeah.
But big spikes are going to start coming in. And the question is going to be, are Granit going to look for something around this dragon? Right now, they don't really have the setup. And you can see Advin and Markoon working together as a jungle support duo. It's establishing control of this red side jungle. And it makes it very difficult to find a way in on this dragon. I mean, they'll steal the red away as well as a bonus.
Really nice stuff there for them. They will be able to pick that up and pop the blast cone and the sweeper. So not going to actually go for the sweeper, the blast cone. I'm going to go for Dr. Chaos, though, who shockwave hooks and the charge comes down. This is the fight. Dr. Chaos already low. Hatrix able to get himself the kill as he gets the lantern away to safety. Mishigu looks for Markoon, unable to find himself the kill. Teleport's coming in, and it looks like Hatrix has some backup. The Chaos Storm times out, and Arome not actually quite got that Mega Gnar yet, so he has to flash over the wall. The blast cone is there.
Where are they going?
XL just been cut off. Tomaz has found Hatrix. The tower shots are coming forwards, and this should just be a kill for the Aatrox. The slow is going to be enough. Arome loses his life to Sahara, and
I'm not sure he actually gets that, by the way. A lot of time invested, and they only get one kill, so Herald comes down. Messy from BTXL, but ultimately they're not punished too heavily.
Oh, good hook. Good hook. Galben does charge in. He does get flayed back. Here comes the entrance from the Galio, and the lantern means nobody gets CC'd. Honestly, Advian playing that beautifully.
Yeah, a bit questionable there from Galben. It felt really forced there, and I think it's one of those scenarios where you expected a play to go way better than it did, and when it doesn't, you're frustrated. You're like, we wanted more kills. We wanted to get multiple kills off the back of that fight. They didn't. He tries to overforce, and that essentially hands over a freebie to XL, and they get this dragon. You see them posturing, potentially look for something here.
Dr. Chaos doesn't have flash, but he does have that taunt. He's going to try and interrupt before they can get onto it. Dragon's been secured, and XL are forcing a teleport here. They're looking for the fight. Arome's building up that Gnar bar. Sahara doesn't quite have his ultimate yet available as the Moonlight Vigil gets flashed away. Actually, the Graviton connects onto Dr. Chaos, and Rome's taking a lot of damage. Almost goes down, but a great hook into the taunt, into the shockwave. Mishigu flashes away to safety. XL's health bars are low, and Galben about to get the charge, about to go for the chase. XL are running to the wind. A fantastic Graviton will lock everybody down, though. And it is just the one kill for Granit, while Tomaz gets some free time on the top side.
Clutch lanterns coming out here from Advian, and you see this fight is just so incredibly messy. They go for Dr. Chaos, not the best target, has Aftershock, uses his taunt, will go down, but this becomes so messy. Sahara and Galben are blocking off the exit for Advian and Hatrix, and yes, a couple of them managed to flash out, but it just seems really uncoordinated from XL. They managed to escape, but it's just incredibly messy, and this long chase extends out. I don't know, it's not what you expect to see from what everyone hyped to be the strongest team in the league. And this was just an overreach from Gal, no other way. You've been CC'd, you're still diving in. The Galliol is incredibly late, and then the Lantern again from Advian to get them out safely. Realistically, I think XL are playing messy, and Granit are matching them fairly well. They're still down in gold, they're still down in dragons, but this is not the clean game we thought XL needed to show.
No. And while we're in that replay as well, the turret went down to Arome. Teleport not up for either of these top laners as the Rift Herald has taken to the map, and feels like this is where the attention is now shifting to with the lane swap from both Mishigu and Deadly. Gale Force finished up onto Mishigu. Deadly still sitting on some components at the moment. Should probably have enough gold, but looking for the opportunity to get that base off. And now, though, they want to keep him in lane, keep him around for this Herald. Tomaz going for a bit of a fight here.
Well, that's the Mega again.
Broken, and Tomaz is just going to have to pop R. Gets Nard back, gets walloped in, and Tomaz may just go for a little bit more of a chase here. Doesn't actually have his Mythic finished up, while Rome does have the Gore Drinker, so actually has a fair amount of sustain.
I mean, this is what's just infuriating about Nah is the fact that you want to opt in for a fight as a Nah. You have Mega, cool, and then Aatrox pops his ultimate. It's like, cool, oh, you're away, I'm gone, I'm at the fight. And it's just an annoying situation to be because, you know, Tomas has to burn his ultimate, but Nah's just like, I burned 1 Mega, it's not a big deal. My ultimate's going to come back way quicker, so...
Yeah. Actually, they're pretty close on cooldowns at the moment.
Nah, it's just because Tammuz used his earlier, but Roma's is ticking faster.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it's not going to make a big difference, but it's just frustrating because you can see Tammuz was like, I can take this fight. And Roma was like, yeah, you can, so I'm gone.
Well, it's also, there is still a window. You're still gifted a window if you're going to go for it. But for now, Deadly finished up that Kraken Slayer. Rift Herald was able to crash open that mid tower for the side of Granite. With the fact that they got a Luden's Victor, got the Thought Boots as well, should actually be able to cut through these waves fairly quickly. As Sahira actually does find an Advian here. Does a lot of damage as the charge comes over the wall. They use the ulti to lock him in place as well. Galio joins into the fight, and Hatrix could just be in for a whole world of damage from the taunt. Hatrix does get himself a good shockwave off as Deadly's trying to heal out, and actually, Granite are the ones coming up big here. Deadly's going so low, has to jump off the wall with a flash. Granite just punishing incredibly hard right now.
Oh, I mean, honestly, Granite are playing so well in this game. Taking that fight, knowing that Advian has no flash. He did just come back up, but wasn't available then. But the engage is really solid. And this is the power of the Galio coming in. He goes for a really aggressive play. It looks like they're getting a lot of damage down, but the Galio forces Deadly away. He can't find the follow-up. And Marcoon, he thinks he's joining the fight, but with the amount of members from Granite there, he's just instantly demolished. Deadly plays this really well to survive. I thought he was going to get sniped here, but the ult flash keeps him up. But it's still a winning play for Granite. Granite are going toe-to-toe with XL, and they are doing well.
You have to also keep in mind how much of a storm Deadly's been able to farm up here. Starting to pull ahead a little bit. He's only down 100 gold. I mean, there is a kill onto Michigan.
It's a good amount, but it's you're really overestimated. It's like it's 15 CS up.
Look, I never see 170 CS in a game. That's a lot for me.
I mean, maybe a 40-minute game.
Yeah.
What's a wave?
And this get numbers like that when I play Gangplank.
Yeah, I've seen your Gangplank.
Yeah, I know. We've been over that.
This looks like it's going to be a fight because often teams want to contest this tier dragon and both teams are posturing for it. Trying to land some poke. Mega's not fully charged, but about halfway. Critical Members is watching what Deadly can do in this fight. If he can get a lot of damage off, it could be pivotal.
Watch for that ball as well. That shockwave. Everyone's quite grouped up. A big ult from Hatrix could be enough, but in comes a big taunt in response into the charge. Into Michigan, just slides onto the backline. The hook connects. And a massive shockwave by Hatrix. XL just blow the fight wide open, taking everybody out. Sahira's still alive, and the health bars are a little bit low. The Gravitum's going to connect, and Marcoon will find the target they need. Hatrix, the hero of XL, finding the ace. Flawless shockwave.
You know what? I said, watch Deadly, and you said, watch the ball. And you know what? I don't think Granite did. I don't think Granite did. We can watch the engage again. And the problem with this is, you know, Granite can look for this opportunity, but I think, again, they're frustrated. They lost the dragon. They're like, let's take a fight. And they don't get backline access here. They're hitting the front line. Deadly is untouched. Hatrix perfect position for a shockwave, and comboing that with the damage from Deadly, it's an easy cleanup. And as soon as those members are down, the fight is over and XL clutch it. It's one of those situations where Granite were doing so well, but one mistake like that is all you need for XL to shut you down.
Wow, Dr. Chaos just narrowly avoiding that hook with the Justice Punch.
But I will
20
say,
minutes in, and XL have now got themselves their gold lead.
Yeah. 3,000 gold lead, 3 dragons up. It's definitely getting harder now for Granite, but they're still in this game. The thing I am concerned about is Deadly now has Runan, so if you see that situation again, it's going to be even more devastating.
Well, XL going to pick up their second tower right now for themselves. Very close towards that Ocean Soul as well now. 3 minutes off that. You thought Arome was hard to deal with before. Ocean Soul on the Gnar, he is going to be a real nuisance. So Maz, going to get the wallop off. As he is actually taking a fair amount of damage. In comes Marcoon and Tomaz. You got a lot of lives to steal. You've got the Gore Drinker, but even so, it's not going to be enough. So we do unfortunately have ourselves a little pause.
I believe Marcoon actually disconnected there, which rather unlucky as he's in the fight. Typically, players don't tend to pause in fights if they can prevent it, because obviously it's kind of annoying when that happens mid-fight. But obviously, if someone in the fight disconnects, kind of has to be done. So hopefully he gets that sorted soon. Does look like Tamo's like to go down here. Again, the XL, they get that one advantage. They get one big team fight win, and that is the freedom for them to just snowball the game. So Granit, they need to find a window back into them. Definitely can. They are the sort of team who will look for those opportunities, but they are now playing from a deficit.
Yeah. I mean, I'm Granit still have this pile-in comp. They still have the ability to smash XL if they get that pile on. They just have to be more mindful of things like the hat-trick shockwave if they go for a 5-on-5, because that fight was going all Granit at the beginning, and then that shockwave just flipped it. You catch Mishigu, you catch, I think Sahiro was in there, and I can't remember who the third person was, but it was just...
I'm gonna disagree. I don't think this fight was going in their favor, because it looked good because they were using their engage tools, but hat tricks and deadly were untouched. And it doesn't matter how many engage tools you throw on Advian, no one cares. It's a Thresh, right? He's soaking damage, it's whatever. But if you don't hit those backline carries, you lose. And that's what it needs to be. You need to find convincing backline access, whether it's through a flank or whether it's through just finding a better opportunity, a better angle. You have to shut those two down. And, you know, we were saying before, watch the ball, watch deadly. If you all funnel in like that, you're setting yourself up to not only get decimated by the shockwave, but deadly can just free hit and can hit an easy ult on multiple members. So,
and it's now got even harder, where the fact that Deadly has not only the Kraken Slayer, but he has the Hurricane as well. So if you find yourself grouped up, not only the shockwave's going to be hitting a lot. Let's say this is an Infernum with the Hurricane. You are just going to melt to the two carries on XL. But if they use those tools, if they do catch out Deadly or hat tricks, then it becomes harder for them to play around that. So that's what we need to see from Granit. I still want to raise some props. However, there have been issues. I think the big thing is Granit are still challenging. They're still fighting. Yeah. The pause has ended, and we're about to get back into the game, and almost kind of proving me a little bit wrong here, because Tomaz is most likely going to die as he jumps into the bush and is one dead Aatrox.
He's gone. Had a bit of a rough time getting picked on a little bit by BTXL, but again, that kill isn't really going to amount to much. There are pings coming out of the Baron. I don't think this is a play, because I think by the time Marcoon was there, Tomoz will have his TP up. So, unsurprisingly, they back away from that one, especially as the vision is not even that sort of in favor of XL with wards in the Baron pit. But yeah, Granit need a window. They need a mistake from BTXL, and I will say the big concern for me is, once again, that Ocean Soul, 2 minutes on the clock before that one's up and available. And this is why it's risky to let 3 dragons go to your side. This is why Granit had to fight that last dragon, because now, even if you win the fight, if Marcoon wins the smite, they have Ocean Soul for the rest of the game. And it doesn't make the game impossible, but it definitely makes it a lot more difficult. It's not like a Baron where if they get the Baron but you crush the fight, you've wiped the Baron off the map. It sticks. So, going to be a deciding point in the match for Granit.
Absolutely. Now, we've seen the execution of getting finished up for Mishigu here. Obviously, a little concerned about the double gore drinkers, the amount of sustain they have to work with.
Really balanced items. To also see the Mikhails coming out from Advian, so playing a very selfless item here. A lot of Threshers. I mean, I guess Locket's still a selfless item, but it makes you tanky. This is very much, he knows Deadly needs to free hit, need to mitigate this DC. And one thing to take into account going into this dragon fight, flash on Arome, Marcoon, Hatchix, and Deadly. Summoners may come up for Granit, but they're not quite available yet. But the thing is, Deadly and Hatchix having their flashes just makes engaging so much harder. And there's no deep wards, there's no position, no angle that I can see Granit approaching from a flank for. And if you aren't finding a multiple angle approach, it's going to be significantly more difficult.
Yeah, it really is. Well, 44 seconds, and XL just have the complete control of the area. There's not too many wards for them to work with, but they are first in the area. That just makes it that much harder for Granit to move in as they clear out the vision that Granit is trying to eke forwards. Gonna see Dr. Chaos, getting caught out by a Rome. And I think Dr. Chaos might just die here. Meanwhile, Sahira getting jumped onto. The Grand Starfall gets used, and that is the end of the support. Meanwhile, Advian gets a hook out onto Galban. Galban has to charge away to safety, but Deadly can just finish him up. And with those 2 kills on the XL side, and Dragon spawning in 2 seconds, I think that is just going to be Soul over to XL now.
You could see Granit wanted to make that multi-angle approach, but it just wasn't able to happen. Arome did a great job of shutting down the Galio, who's trying to walk around. And it just ended up looking very scattered, very disoriented from Granit. We can see it again. So Arome spots out on the bot side and goes for that play onto Dr. Chaos, essentially forces him to go down. But on the top side, we can see Haptrix gets chunked out by Sahira, going for the hero play. But Deadly and Advian are just too strong to be dealt with at this point. So much peel, so much damage from the AD carry. And as a result, Galban goes down. And it wasn't even really a fight, I feel. It was an attempt from Granit. They try to find the flank. Sahira tried to go for a hero play. And as much as he won out in that trade, they just weren't able to do anything against Granit. And we can see where that game just exploded.
Yeah. Well, with a 5,000 gold lead, give or take, closing in on that. Granit have had to kind of take their foot off the pressure a little bit here. And
actually, Jake, it's 5,500, so it's close to 6,000, you know.
Sorry. Yeah, maths are hard. This is my 4th night in a row, so I think you can forgive me.
No.
No, okay, sorry.
No excuses.
Well, with the large lead that XL have been able to accrue, they are the ones who are in charge of the tempo and the control of the game. It's down to Granit to find a mistake, find an overstep, and find a punish, or that miracle dream engage. The heroes can take a little bit of poke damage from Deadly.
I mean, you can see how tentative XL are around the Baron, because they know that's the biggest potential to throw the game. But they've swept a lot of this vision, so they're willing to start this. And actually, Mishigo's back to base. I mean, this is just, they have no chance of fighting this, and it's going down too quickly to steal. So good vision setup from XL. I guess they kind of got lucky with Mishigu being on the reset, but it didn't really matter. Granit weren't able to get any vision in, weren't prepared, ends up going over. And that goal lead, a 7,000 in favor of XL. With the Ocean Stall as well, this game looks like it's going to be wrapping up pretty shortly.
Feeling very, very rough right now as Tower's going to get taken out as well. XL still had a shaky start to the game. And it still has a few questions I've got raised about this team right now. They're definitely showing us a more decisive version of XL than we saw yesterday. Able to break open the base here. Granit not really able to do too much about that. It's onto the inhibitor. Deadly puts the turret down as well to make sure a little bit more zoning tools available to them. For the moment, though, they are a little bit too hesitant to step up. Deadly gets the opportunity to step forward. Chaos Storm used, and Marcoon actually just Grand Starfalls to join the team for the shove. Nexus is going to go down, and Granit are going to have a brief respite from the siege of XL. They can reset with their Baron buffs and then take back to the Rift.
I mean, honestly, if I'm Granit, I was hoping they wouldn't reset, because now they are spending their gold. Things are looking dire. We have 3 items from Deadly. He's got the Infinity Edge, massive spike. You know how you talked about the CS difference? Now you can say he's farmed up a difference. 70 over Michigan. I actually want to have a look at the gold, because I think, yeah, 3,000 gold lead just between the AD carries. And actually, Sahira's actually up in gold compared to Haptrix. Sahira have been doing a lot of work on this Victor, and really a saving grace for the team. Like, even in that team fight they lost around the Dragon, he nearly took down Haptrix and forced his flash. So all things considered, a strong performance despite the fact that BTXL just leagues ahead at the moment.
That's the old 2,000 years tower take I love.
I didn't miss him.
Oh, I didn't miss him at all. I
No.
genuinely, I think one champion I just haven't missed from being out of the meta was Aphelios.
You know, I'm going to say it though. I'd rather have Aphelios in the meta than Yuumi.
Yes, actually, yes. I mean, when they were both in the meta, that was honestly the worst. But we have a fight breaking out here, and Tomaz will just lose his life to
I think
Haptrix.
fight's
It's
an
not really a
overstatement.
fight, more a pick.
Yeah.
Hatrix is actually going to get ulted. He has to shield himself. Gets the speed boost out to get away. Down number
Here is
2.
punishing Hatrix here.
Yeah, getting really heavily chunked out. Remember, he does have teleports. He can rejoin, but the charge is coming down. Here's the Galio ult. Marcoon's going to get knocked up. Looking for a big taunt, but the hook is just way too much. And Hatrix has rejoined that fight. Arome with a massive slam into the wall. And XL finding everything they needed. Sahira can't even kill Hatrix on the tail end. As XL get the ace. They've got the supers in the base. Baron's timed out, but they don't even need it. This is going to be game. XL 17-6, 29 minutes on the clock. Gonna beat out Granit.
Decisive. I think we levy a lot of criticism at XL, and I think it's because we have such huge, monstrous expectations. We've got to remember, this is a team who changed 3/5 of their roster. This is this is the biggest roster change they've had in a while. And despite that, they're still coming out clean in this games. Yes, they need ironing out. Yes, there's some mistakes, but they are definitely looking like a dominant team. And I know Fnatic obviously had a sub, but in comparison, they obviously did lose that match. Whereas it feels like XL, yeah, there's stuff to be improved on, but I think Granit are looking really good. And I think there's windows where it looks like they have a real chance in that game. And I think not beating XL is completely fine, but I look at the rest of the teams in that group, and I think going into this split, they weren't thinking of Granit as a threat. And now they need to be aware of them, because particularly Sahira in the mid lane was a monster on the Victor, despite the fact that things are kind of falling apart around him.
I think, to be fair, most teams at this point are now going to have to take Granit very seriously. They challenged XL really hard. They're 1-on-1 at the end of day 2. And with their second game being arguably one of the most stacked rosters, if not the most stacked roster in the tournament, and actually still making it look fairly competitive. Sure, when XL got ahead and got in control, it went more XL favored, but Granit still looked like a really serious contender here at the NLC. Now, guys, we're actually going to throw it over to our analyst desk to break that game down a little bit more and have an interview to round everything off. So, Scoundrel, over to you.
Yes, thank you very much, HitBrain. Good casting, guys. Well done. It's I'm sorry, I'm closing my door at the same time.
I just realized my door's open too.
It's just my door was just like, I better close that. It's on this side of the screen. So yes, of course, XL did come out with the victory there. Granit did make them work for it, though. The early game wasn't as stable as we were assuming it to be. There were a couple of missteps here and there, but you know, I would say that realistically, XL looked in control for the majority. Like even from the outset into the jungle, taking away that red buff, putting pressure on the Hecarim. It just took them the right moment to take off with Deadly on that Aphelios. But you know, I think XL were expected victors here, and I think them getting the win was kind of the even, you know, despite the split predictions across the desk, it was kind of what I guess the majority of people expected to be the outcome here.
Well, that's the thing, and obviously I'm all for singing praises to the team that won, because XL did do well when they hit that mid game. That shockwave from Hatrix that turned it all around, really put them back into the driving seat. But at the same time, you really need to give Granit credit, because obviously a lot of you guys had them on the prediction as well, but I don't think anyone anticipated the early game that they were able to bring out against BTXL. And I want to address against, this is 4 rookies. Like, you have one guy who played LFL's 2nd division in the top lane. He's not even like the 1st division, and it's like, where does this come from? I'm not quite sure, because it's just like, it's the pure Cinderella story. I mean, I'm such a huge Granit fan today, just because that this is their 2nd official game together, 4 rookies. I like, what's going to be the limit for these guys, right? Because they're doing so well now, and I really hope they're going to be sticking together, not only throughout this split, but to the next one. Because like, if you're able to take these players on this caliber of BTXL to this kind of level, and they have to work for it like they had to do today, this team is insane. It honestly is.
Super close game, and like you said, you really summed it up perfectly. There was a team of relative rookies coming into the NLC, you know, and they've really put, probably, as HitBrain said, the most stacked roster to the NLC to work. You know, and I'm very excited to see how Granit do for the remainder of the split. I think it's going to be really cool to see if they can make it to playoffs, potentially even challenge for one of those European Masters spots if things, you know, continue with the level of performance that we've seen before. But look, we've got a play of the game that we're going to break down here. I believe we're bringing Trouble in for our final one. So Trouble, what have you selected for us?
Okay, how many circles, arrows, squares do I need to put in?
As many as you
Give
can.
it to me quick. Okay, cool.
Literally, like all of them.
All right, so a big important part before this fight starts is that, as you can see here, the whole of Granit is on the bot side of the map. But there is a tiny Na sitting here. I don't think anything of him yet because he's in the mini-Na form, but it is very important because he is there. He's got the flank position, and this is going to prove very crucial. Because as you can see, Sahira is sitting on this choke point, and he is really trying to push that Na away. As we play this clip, though, you'll see that the Na persists to be there, and Sahira is still trying to push him away. By some miracle, you'll see that Markoon will get the dragon, which is insane. And here's where the fight begins. And right here, that beautiful shockwave by Hattrick seals the deal, getting everyone deaded from the side of Granit. And it's only the Aatrox and the Victor. Now, this can work, right? This can work because these guys are sort of kiting backwards while these guys are trying to chase them. And the Victor is still doing a bunch of damage together with the Aatrox, so they can't push them. What they haven't, though, realized is that the Pantheon is coming through behind them, getting the flank. And this is what's going to prove to be sealing the deal in this fight. You'll see Markoon has got the flag. He catches Sahira while Tamas is dying to the other 3 members. And it's pretty much a good game well played from this point on.
Yeah.
Sorry, not squares.
That was the. I'll give you like it's 6.5. That was the game that definitely. That was the fight that definitely turned the game around there. You know, that was clearly the fight that XL needed. I mean, Hattrick's, as you said, pulled off an insane shockwave to win that fight. So, you know, I think up until that point, you know, Granit had the confidence to even start the dragon up. So that tells you everything you needed to know about the game before that point. Granit was still confident just going into, wow, your door closed by itself. What the hell?
Who cares?
But Granit had the ability to just start the dragon. So obviously up until that point, they felt confident that even if a fight broke out, they felt like they were on even playing field to be able to take it. But alas, was not the case. XL were able to steal it from that point onwards. And I think that was the correct pivotal moment to talk about, because beyond that, XL just kind of ran away with the game. Though, it was just stomping left, right, and center.
And that's the thing, though, because when they do get that lead, they are looking phenomenal. Like, when you go into that mid to late game, you really are thinking, wow, that's really tough to come back from. That is really hard to play against. But it's how they get to that point. It's really not convincing. It was the game yesterday where we were like, oh, you got a lead. Now the lead is too early in the game. We can't really transition that into any objectives. We're kind of just stalling for time, and our opponents are getting back into the game. Today, it was like, oh, we're just behind, and we come back through like our individual skill in a team fight. Like, had they not walk up into that shockwave, I'm scared to kind of think what the outcome of this game would have been, because it was an XL without a grasp of the early game.
Yeah, I think as we look forward as well for BTXL, they were a team that had a bit of question marks on day one. I won't say this was the cleanest game, but it was relatively convincing, and I think that Granit as well looked to be, from what we've seen so far, a fairly good team as well. So high expectations have been relisted here for BTXL, and kind of living up to their name and the players that they have on the roster as one of the teams that could look to be one of the best in NLC and one of our representatives at E Masters. That's what they should be shooting for, and I don't see why they can't hit that based off of what we've seen so far.
I just want to give a massive shout out to my boy Markoon, because I kind of underrated him in the previous game yesterday. I said he kind of went under the radar, but this one, he started strong, he ended strong. This madman did not buy woods, pots, boots, nothing. He had one goal only. He put on the binoculars. It was go drinker start to finish. The second that item was locked and loaded in his inventory, he was just wreaking havoc in the whole entire map, and that was just beautiful to watch.
Yeah, Markoon had a solid game. I believe we have Advian standing by, though, for an interview. So I'm going to bring Advian in for a chat here. You're now 2-0 in the NLC, which is a great start. Obviously, Advian, you have kind of joined the XL roster fairly recently, and it's kind of like joining you're joining now a fairly sort of experienced, I would say, what's the word I'm looking for? Academy roster. It's probably first time for you getting into sort of this level of academy roster. How has it been like for you joining the XL team? What has the process been like, and how's it differed from your other teams that you've been part of?
I think the team coming into XL Esports, being an academy team, right, being a big name in Europe, and definitely a big name within the NLC. I think it's been a culture shock, but in a good way. So everything I've seen has been really professional. I came in and basically everything feels like home. It's crazy good to work with the people, and I think we have basically everything we need to become the best team we can be.
Yeah, and you guys certainly, I think most people putting you as the #1 roster in the NLC right now, at the very least. I think most people kind of expecting that from the quality of players you've got. Obviously, you're laning with Deadly. He's an incredibly strong AD carry. How have you meshed with him? Like, obviously, he went from Kissing, obviously was his previous support. He's now playing with you. How have you guys sort of meshed together as a bot lane?
Well, I think we do really well together. I had to be honest. When I started, I obviously knew I had big shoes to fill from Kissing, so it was definitely a bit like I was a bit scared of it, at the start. Yeah. But I think the moment we started scrimming, it fit like a glove. I think we can both play a really aggressive style, or we can play a more control style. We can basically feel whatever we want to do in the team, and I think we are already a pretty good bot lane, even though we're not playing for a very long time. And I think that we have a very good floor to grow on together. So yeah, I'm really liking playing with Deadly right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you guys looked really comfortable when obviously Deadly had a great performance towards the later stages of that game. Granit coming in as rookies. They definitely made you work for it in the early game. It was not until that Dragon fight. Was that how you intended the game to go? Were you expecting it to be that close in the early game, especially given the level 1 where you sort of got the early pressure onto Hecarim?
I'll be honest, I didn't. I was quite cocky coming in, and I was thinking that, hey, we're gonna just show them what's up in lane, and we're just gonna roll over them. Luckily, that didn't happen. So we actually had a game on our hands, which is obviously a lot of fun. So no, I was quite surprised at the Granit Gaming playing so well, yeah, I'm happy that they gave us a challenge to make the game a lot more fun to play. So no, I was pleasantly surprised.
It was fun to watch as well. And obviously the question I've got to ask you, in the history of like NLC and the previous leagues that the NLC was kind of part of, Fnatic has always been the Achilles heel for XL. Fnatic has always been the problem child. XL have never managed to actually get past Fnatic in those best of 5s in the finals. Do you think this season the XL win? Do you think this is the season that the BTXL team could take the win?
Definitely. There's no doubt about it that this is the season that we're going to beat Fnatic. I think Fnatic looked quite shaky the first game. Obviously, they didn't have their top laner, but the rest of the map also looked quite shaky. So I'm really confident that this year we'll smash them and show that XL Esports is the new king of the North.
I like it. I'm going to end it on that, mate. Advian, cheers. We'll see you soon.
Thank you very much. See you.
Mate, he's better than me at my job. He's just
that was like really
good. With one-liners like that, I'm just done. I think I'm done. But hey, we had a lot of good games today. So let's have a look at some of the replays that we've got if they're ready to go. And we'll start off with that Singularity versus Riddle game. That was the one that kicked off the day. Singularity looked really good.
Yeah, so that's the thing we need to pay attention to going into this split, that if someone wants to come up and contest, especially when Fnatic has looked so weak as they have in the first game, like I'm kind of curious to see them playing again, but Singularity, they are becoming a threat that people need to be aware of as well, and obviously starting with Granit today as well. I thought, and I said that yesterday as well, that this was going to be a lower level split, but already from the first 2 days, this is looking really good.
Yeah, and the Covert M&M game was really, really entertaining as well. Not just like the level of play, which was, well, I'll gloss over that. But just as far as entertainment goes, it was
Hey, let them have some fun, man.
Yeah, it was a very fun game. I had a lot of fun watching it, at least, that's for sure. And Godsend picking up their first win of the split as well, which to me was relatively comfortable. And I think, as we start shaping up here with the standings and with the teams that we've got so far, we've got one more day left to play this week. I think all the teams that we've seen for today and that we've seen yesterday have really looked like it looks like the NLC is going to be quite a competitive league in the spring split.
I absolutely agree. I think it's going to look absolutely fantastic. And, you know, we can have a look at the standings as well to see exactly where we are in the NLC after 2 days. Remember, we have another day to go this week, which we'll talk about in just a moment. But as you can see, over in Group A, BTXL currently 1-0, Tricked now at 1-0 themselves, yet to play another game. Godsend and Granit sit at 1-1 apiece, with Nordavind and Dusty down at the bottom of the table. Dusty going 0-2, looking not so good in their opening week of the NLC, but I'm sure plenty of time to turn that around. Having a look over at Division B then, we can have a look at some of the standings from that group, and you can see Barrage, Singularity, M&M all at the top of the table, with Fnatic, Riddle, and Kova yet to get some wins. But of course, as I said, we've got one more day this week. We'll be starting at the same time tomorrow, and the games that you've got coming up will be, I'm just going to double check so I don't get it wrong, Nordavind versus Tricked, Riddle versus M&M, Kova versus Fnatic, and then Barrage versus Singularity. But again, we're ending the day with some banger games here. Barrage versus Singularity, I think, is going to be a really, really strong game to watch. You guys have put T's in the chat, which means you're going to say something now. So
I mean,
say something.
I was waiting for him.
Yeah, that was for before.
Oh.
Wait. Check the timestamp, bro.
Yeah, I see the timestamp. Well, with that said, I have nothing to say.
Well, I'm getting trolled by our analysts, so I won't troll you any longer. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Come back and watch this absolute dumpster fire of an analyst desk. Do it again. See you soon.
Stay sweet summertime, sipping in a high, we caught a fever for two. Go together like neon in the night, I know I'm better with you. I know that you see